The lack of load testing is a sure way to waste money on software development. In previous posts, I talked about how a product's instability during intermediate development iterations is a red flag, a sure way to end up with a 99% complete product that's unfortunately unusable. But what if the product is stable at every iteration and you personally tested it after a deadline and found nothing wrong? Can you relax? Today I want to talk about situations where even a stable product can start failing at the most inconvenient moments. But first, let me grab some coffee.
A few moments later.
For you, it might seem like I brewed my coffee instantly, thanks to Victoria, who edited this video. But when you go to your favorite cafe making up a cup of coffee, it's not an instant process. You spend some time deciding, do I want an espresso, a filter coffee, or maybe a flat white? Then the barista takes your order and payment. After that, they grind the coffee, feed the portafilter into the espresso machine and wait for the brew. And if you order the flat white, they'll also need to steam the milk and draw some latte art. It's pleasant to watch when you're the first in the line, but what happens if 5 or 10 people arrive at the cafe in a short span of time? Even if making one cup of coffee takes only 1 minute, the last person in line will have to wait 10 minutes. Let's make it a really bad day for the poor soul at the end of the line. The grinder runs out of coffee and the barista has to bend under the counter to fetch a new bag. Add 30 seconds. They run out of milk and have to grab another carton from the fridge. Another 30 seconds. The customer at the counter starts asking about the beans and milk used. Another 30 seconds. Someone else runs out of money on their card and spends ages shuffling through their credit cards to find one that works. That's another 2 minutes added to the wait. At some point, the last person in line decides to leave for another cafe where the baristas works faster, and half the line leaves with them. For the cafe, this means losing half of their morning revenue. It's the same story with client-server systems. The cafe and the barista are your web server. The cafe visitors are your users. When the first user arrives at the website, it only takes a small amount of time for the server to process their request. Sometimes it's just a few hundred milliseconds, so fast it's imperceptible for the human eye, and you think the website loads instantly. But what happens when 10, 100 or 1000 users come to the website within a short period? The first visitors are lucky, they're served with the first few seconds, but the hundreds or thousands users will already face significant delays, several seconds or even tens of seconds. Waiting 10 seconds for a website to load is already frustrating. Tell me, who hasn't experienced this? And what do you usually do in such situations? Press F5 to refresh the page? I do it too! Congratulations! You've just added extra load to the server. On the top of that, the web server has now moved you to the end of the queue again. What do you do when the website still doesn't load after a few attempts? Personally, I just leave and find another site that works, and the users of your website will do the same. You lose revenue, but most importantly, you lose your reputation as a reliable service. Next time, your now former users will think twice before coming back to your site and risking more delays. And let me repeat, you can't test this kind of situations with 1 or 2 users on the website. This behavior can only be tested under load. Dozens of customers in the cafe at once, or hundreds or thousands of users on the web server at the same time. 1000 simultaneous users, that's not realistic, you might say. But this video is coming out just before Black Friday, and that's a very real situation. Beyond that, your app could get mentioned by a famous blogger with hundreds of thousands of followers, or a tech journalist might include a link to your site in a review of new startups, or your advertising campaign might become so successful that you'd suddenly get a flood of visitors. Isn't that why you're doing business in the first place? When your contractor gives you a demo, you won't be able to reproduce this kind of load, even if you ask your friend, your spouse, and even your dog to help test the site. Believe me, project managers say things like, "I'm demoing the product to the client, so please don't touch the site." If load testing isn't built into your project plan, that's a major red flag. You might ask, Vladimir, can't we just rent a more powerful server? I heard cloud platforms are cheap and quick to scale. First, inexperienced contractors often write software in such a way that some functions won't scale efficiently. Adding a second server won't double performance, it might improve it by only 20%. So instead of 2 servers, you'll need 5 to achieve double the performance. Second, if you grab a calculator, you'll see that cloud servers aren't as cheap as they seem. The markup on some servers can reach 10x, and you'll be the one paying for your contractor's inefficient code. That's just the operational side of poorly scalable code. How does it affect your overall product strategy? In some cases, poorly scalable functions can't be optimized. They'll need to be rewritten from scratch, an expensive process. In worse cases, you might need to completely redesign the architecture of your web application, which means even higher costs. So, what advice can I give you to avoid wasting money on software development? First, before the project begins, include a requirement in the contract specifying how many simultaneous users the application must support. For example, for 1000 unique visitors over a 10-minute interval, server response time must not exceed 500 milliseconds for 95% of requests. Second, ensure that time for load testing is included in the project plan. Third, regularly review load testing reports. Fourth, don't sign off completed work or pay your contractor until the application meets the required performance characteristics under load. Fifth, to avoid conflicts of interest, hire an independent company to conduct load testing, like Design and Test Lab. If you need help testing your application under load, optimizing its performance, or saving money on cloud infrastructure, I'd be happy to share my 20 years of engineering experience. My contact details are in the description. Thank you for your attention. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. See you next week. Bye.